Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back. It is review time for the Diana Trailscout. Alright, so this is our grouping that we got with Crosman destroyer pellets. That's actually really good, and it's only about nickel size. So these things are definitely going to sight in on this gun from the looks of things. Next up, of course, is the Predator Polymags. Now, these were shooting a little high, but I was trying to adjust the sights, and I've been through at least 10 different types of pellets. The only ones I haven't touched yet are my Gammo pellets and my Black Widows. And there's no way I'm throwing Black Widow garbage pellets through this gun. So I still got to try the Gammos yet, but Predator Polymags. My first two shots, of course, were definitely my fault, but these in here, they grouped really nice and tight. So it'll definitely run the Predator Polymags. And then, of course, this was Crosman hollow points. Not so great on the hollow points, but we did get some bullseyes, but pretty scattered nonetheless. So it looks like our winners are the Predator Polymags so far, and of course, definitely those Crosman destroyers. Thank goodness I can get those things cheap. Anyways, so let me go in front of the camera now. We'll talk about the gun. Now, I picked this up today locally in Powassan, which is about, well, the store is about 8 clicks from me, so 8 kilometers. I got this from Brushy's, and he's been getting a lot out of the regular firearms, but really into the pellet guns and selling them like hotcakes. And today I went in to go pick up the chaser that I showed you guys, and somebody who was buying it right when I was there, and I'm like, oh man. And then I thought, oh, where's that PCP gun? You know, maybe I'll take that one. Oh, it's gone, but he still had this one. And I thought, all right, no problem. So I got this gun, and I really am enjoying this thing. Now, the nice thing I really like about this one is the caulking handle is on the proper side for a left-handed shooter like myself. And this, by the way, does come with the rotary mag that slides in place of the little single tray. See if I can get this to cock. It just slides out, and then you slide in your rotary mag. And I haven't tried the rotary mag yet, and that I'm not too concerned about, but I'm sure it'll work just fine. I haven't heard too many bad things about them. So, yeah, what the heck, you know, I'll get to it eventually. But the rear sight is down really low, which is where I adjusted it to shoot the destroyer pellets. Plus I was aiming at the bottom of the black area of the target, definitely well away from the bullseye, so I probably could have brought up my height a bit, and then I'd been fine. But I'm not that great with open sights anymore, and I'm shooting from 10 meters. If I had moved out to maybe 20 meters, I'd probably get a little bit of room that I could adjust with this rear sight more so, who knows. Anyways, now the gun does not come with the mod suppressor / silencer. Those are illegal in Canada, but it does have a tip that will screw off. And then if you had a muzzle brake that would thread on, you could do that. And like I said originally, I fully intend on making muzzle brakes for these guns, especially for Canadians, but anybody who wants them, once I can get a lathe again. Now, this thing does swallow up 3 CO2 bottles, which I think they should have just stuck with maybe 2, because I'm at, I would say I'm very close to 150 shots out of this thing, and I just cronied it before starting the video, and at the shot count I'm at, which is about 150, I kind of lost track. I've gone through probably about 15 targets. I'm whopping in a lot of pellets into each target. You know, plus I did the chronograph for you guys. I'm still on the original 3 bottles for when I brought it home from the store. I'm not kidding you. This thing does not want to die, and it's running at 464 right now with all those shots on it. And it's like, well, 464, maybe another 40 shots, 50 shots. I'm thinking you could probably get well over 200 shots out of this. I mean, you are dealing with about 36 grams worth of CO2 gas in this. Now, this is like a bulk fill system too, kind of like your QB78s. You got your first bottle that goes in toward the valve, your second bottle goes out towards the muzzle, and your third bottle goes in toward the valve. And there's a little coupler they give you to join the two so that they both pierce at that end, and then it just bulk fills the tube. Now, as far as tightening this thing down goes, when you are threading on the collar, you have to have this thing down because there's a plunger at the other end that squeezes those bottles together. So you have to have this in the down position, and then thread this all the way on by fingers, tight as you can get it. But then make sure you have an Allen key that fits these Allen key grub screws, and use one of those carefully to just finish off snugging it down, because if any of that O-ring is showing whatsoever, it's gonna blow. Okay, so that's something you want to keep in mind. You've got to make sure that's threaded all the way in. But don't try to over tighten either, just till it's closed off, there's no sign of the O-ring, it looks like it's completely flush, and then just make sure it's just snug, and that's all you need to do. Okay. Anyways, now with the rear sight, you can remove it and it'll expose a dovetail, which you can use along with the dovetail on your breech. So it would give you more options for how you want to mount your scope, which is really nice. Now the barrel band is fixed in the position it's in. You can't move it any other areas of the gun. Okay, so from this point on, it is free floating. I don't seem to be seeing or feeling any kind of barrel vibration as it's shooting, so it is in a really good stable spot, although I'm sure it would probably benefit more to have another barrel band up closer if you could do that, because the more rigid you can make your barrel, the better. Okay. Anyways, it does have a cross block safety on it. Alright, and it's nice, it's very stiff, it's positive lockup. Does have an adjustable trigger system, and I gotta tell you, this is an extremely hairy trigger. I don't have one of those meters for testing the poundage out. There's no pellet in the gun, but just you got a little bit of give there, and then the slightest touch and it goes off. It's like, that's crazy. So you got to watch your where your finger is, because a few shots I was like, they're going in different spots, and it's like, it should be a lot more than this. So I had to be very steady. So I've learned to deal with this very hairy trigger. Now I could probably stiffen it up a bit, but I'd rather not. I like it the way it is. I love having a light trigger pull. You know, especially if you're going for accuracy, you want a light trigger pull. And that's a big deal. Now I do have a video of the unboxing, and we cronied it, that sort of stuff, so you can go check out that video. I was going to do just a straight regular accuracy video with this, but I found no need for doing that. I've been out here basting in the sun for the last, I'd say almost 2 hours altogether. Just shooting the daylights out of this thing and waiting for it to die, and it's like, come on, today would be good. You know, it kind of reminds me of that 177 QB78 I had. That thing got like over 200 shots before it would die, and that was with 2 bottles, you know, and it was even running very close to the 500 range, as this one does too. And the shot consistency from shot to shot is definitely there. Even up over 100 shots, I was still pulling off 480s, and I was like, you're kidding me. Like, this thing is amazing. Like, it is just crazy for the shot count. And this is the non-PAL version yet, you know. And so yeah, it's definitely got the shot count. So anyways, just one more thing here before we go with the rest of this. This handle here, like I said, you had to have it down to tighten it. You have to lift it up, which actually squashes the bottles. I think I mentioned that, but just in case I didn't, there it is, even if it's a second time. Anyways, synthetic stock on this thing, very small, like it's a very lightweight gun, you know, like, and it's kind of squared off, you know, it's not like rounded, which is kind of nice, because the flat spot here is going to be really handy. I'm going to install a bipod. I still have one more bipod mount to put on this, and I think I'm going to try and see if I can put it up closer into here, but I definitely want to put a bipod onto this and a scope. Now as far as, you know, energy and all that other stuff goes, I mean, you're a little over 4 foot-pounds of energy, which is not bad for being under 500. depending on the pellet you're using too. You know, I even tried Ultra Shocks in this thing, which would slow it down. They're 10.34 grain. It did slow it down enough, and I've got it written down in the house. I can't remember, but it equaled out to, I guess about 4 something foot-pounds. I mean, you could take birds with this thing. I don't know about squirrels or chipmunks. It really depends on the pellet too, you know. And I think your best bet, of course, if you're going to try squirrels and chipmunks at least, you know, and birds, definitely use Predator Polymags. Now, I know how mine's shooting with the Predator Polymags. Yours may shoot exactly the same. It might be an even tighter group. It might not. It's hard to say. There's very few videos on this gun at all, and they're all for the PAL rated version. And there's one guy who went through a boatload of pellets, and he finally got one that worked, you know, half decent. And again, like I said, it's the PAL rated, and he's running the 22 cal version, not the 177. Again, there's very little on YouTube on this gun, but there's gonna be more on it, especially as I, you know, get a scope for it and dial it in for using it with a scope. Like I said, at 10 meters, I'm having a hard time, but I'm still able to get bullseyes, but it's just, I'd rather have a scope, and it gives me a lot more freedom to have something zoomed up closer, and I can get this thing dialed in a lot more better and accurate than what you saw on those target papers. But good though that the destroyers work really well. I tried the hollow points. I tried pointed pellets, wad cutters, RWS hobby pellets. Hang on a second, my targets just blew away on me. I tried the Hades, I tried the Ultra Shocks. Now I didn't bother with the Jumbo Exacts because those things are like 13 point something grain. It would definitely chalk the speed, probably around 300, 325 on this gun. But that's not usable to me. You know, so it's way too heavy of a pellet, especially for a non-PAL. Now the PAL version of this gun, they rate it in the 177 as 660 feet per second for the PAL rated, so I still wouldn't even try using Jumbo exact pellets on it that are 13 grain, because that's still not enough horsepower for those pellets to shoot right. I would say you're safer in the high 700s, 800s or higher. Then you would probably want to use those 13 grain pellets, and you know, in an air rifle, and you'd be fine. Now I probably wouldn't have any problem shooting the pellets out of this gun because it is CO2. We did find out that a pump up pistol ran about 290 on the Crossman 1377, and those pellets actually did whop out of there. But you know, on the Springers and Nitros that I have, forget it. And they're very close to 500 FPS. In fact, the Stoeger is still running a little on the hot side, and yeah, it couldn't even fire one of those Jumbos out. So it's kind of like, eh. And that's the Jumbo Monsters. Redesigned, they say. Anyways, for adjusting the rear sight on this thing, it's kind of interesting. You got one screw for your elevation, you got two for windage. So whichever way you want to go for your windage, you're going to have to loosen off one and tighten the other, and vice versa, depending on which way you're going with it. And that's how they set that up. And I thought, well, that's actually pretty cool and unique. And it is a pretty good quality sight too that they threw on this thing. Like, you know, it's not no toy thing. Actually, it's not even plastic. It looks like it's all metal. Yeah, that's metal. So yeah, the tooth test. So you definitely got a lot of metal on this gun. So I think the only plastic that's really on this thing is probably going to be this part of the handle here, a little bit of the front sight. Stock, of course, is plastic. But you know, it's nice. Now, it's not an ambidextrous stock, which is not a big deal. I mean, it does have the cheek piece here, you know, but holding the gun in either hand, this end here is definitely ambidextrous for you, and I actually find it quite comfortable, you know. So somebody who's right-handed wants to shoot this, that's over, you know, they'd be fine with the cheek piece. They've got it there, right? Where I don't really need the cheek piece, to be honest. Now, as far as price goes, these things sell for $250 new in Canada. They're well worth the money, in my opinion. The shot count alone, I mean, seriously, $3 worth of CO2 gas, and we're up over 150 shots, and it still won't die. I mean, that's really good, you know. I couldn't ask for nicer usage, because I've heard some people say it's like a gas hog, right? And even the chaser, it runs one CO2 bottle, and that thing is so shot consistent, it's crazy right to the very end. And you get a lot of shots out of the chaser 177 in the non-PAL version of it. So that's really good. I'm very impressed. I'm not impressed with the fact that I couldn't use the JSB Hades or the Ultra Shocks. The Ultra Shocks were looking at first like they might sight in, but then after a few more shots, forget it. They just can't group, you know. And of course, the Hades, they just didn't work either. So I'm still in search of a gun that'll shoot Hades. But at least it does run the Predators, so if I wanted to try small game or pest control, I could try it out with the Predators. The Destroyer pellets, they may work, I don't know how well. They are 7.4, the Predators are an 8 grain. Predators to me are the better choice for a hunting pellet, period. If you're going to do that sort of thing. I don't normally recommend 177 under 500 feet per second air guns for any kind of hunting or pest control, but this thing might be okay for squirrels, chipmunks, definitely going to be okay for, oh, maybe even a partridge-sized bird, you know, or a partridge. But definitely partridge and smaller is about where I would go. And I'd probably want to consider that within about probably 15 meters, okay, or closer to 20 yards at most for that kind of distance, because you got to keep your energy levels up, right? But otherwise, it's kind of a dicey thing. But maybe down the road we'll see how that goes. So, star rating. Where do we put this thing? Well, it does come with the multi-shot mag. It does come with a lot of extra seals. You'll have actually, I think, 1 or 2 extra seals for the cap up top and other seals for this thing. So it does come with a lot of that. You can buy extra seals online too, which is not a problem either. So if you end up going through some seals for some reason, there are more to be had, you know, so it's not like you're stuck out in the wind. I mean, you've got parts access for this gun. As far as I know, full parts support too. There was a guy actually bought a breech for one of his. I can't remember if his was the Chaser. It was one of the guns. Could have been a Chaser Trail or the Trailscout. I can't remember, but you know, you can actually, if you prefer your bolt not on this side but on the left side, you can get the breech and from the Chaser, for example, and put it on here. The breeches are the same on all of their guns that have the multi-shot capable mag, at least in this style of the breech. They would all be the same from what I understand. So that's a really good point as well. As far as caulking handles go, I know we've seen a couple of videos where they talk about the caulking handle, and I would recommend put your thumb at the back and put your finger up closer and caulk it that way. You'll never bend it, you'll never break it. It will not be an issue for you. If you're going to continuously caulk like this, because of the length, over time it may bend, sure. But, you know, you can hold it comfortably even with your finger here, one finger here, and let this finger here take up the most. And that's the way I would caulk this gun, and this way you'll never, ever bend it or break the bolt. I think a lot of that too is guys are just really rough on the guns too, more than anything else, you know, so that's another consideration. So I take that sort of stuff with a very big grain of salt and go, well, it's probably the guy because he's probably, you know, like he's really rough with it and trying to be fast and fancy, maybe, that sort of thing, maybe what's going on, you know, and that's where that's coming from. Because so far there's only been, I think it's 2 videos and just from the same guy. But anyway, star rating for this gun. I would definitely put this gun at a 4 out of 5 solid. You know, and I would recommend this gun. Just be aware, my gun shoots what it shoots. No 2 guns shoot alike, so be prepared to get yourself a big variety of pellets at different weight levels too. you know, from your hyper pellets if you wanted to try hyper. Now I don't think hyper pellets are the greatest idea. They tend to be very much too light in my opinion. I wouldn't run anything lower than probably a 7 grain, and I did try the hobbies at 7 grain. My gun will not group those things at all, okay? But you can try them if you buy the same gun. Try them in there, you never know. No two guns will ever be alike, and I know I've tried this before many times in the past and none of them are alike. So you never know. You might get the pick of the litter and shoot hobbies, or maybe you'll be able to run the Hades, you know, because your big thing is you want to be in that bullseye. Whatever range you dial the gun in at, whether it be 10 yards, 20 yards, whatever, okay, you want to always make sure every single shot hits the bullseye. The odd flyer is acceptable, I get that, it always is, the odd one, but the majority, the vast higher percentage, so about 99% of your shots need to be dialed into that bullseye. Then you know you've got a great pellet for target shooting, and if you're going to hunt, you're definitely, you know that. Just keep in mind of your range of what you sighted your gun in for, because it's going to change at different footage, right? So you got to have a pretty good eyeball to go, okay, well I'm within about 3 or 4 feet, I should be fine, and you will be, you know. It's when you start getting about 8 and 10 feet away from where you sighted it in, that's when things can go real squirrely on you. And that's just the way guns are. But anyways, in the meantime, guys, I thank you so much for staying tuned and watching our review on this thing. When I get a scope on it and get it dialed in with a pellet that is of the 2 anyways, so far, I still have Gammo pellets to try. I will give them a shot, see how they group, and the pellets that do group the best, I will pick the one that is the best and get the scope dialed in dead on. Then we'll try and see how well the other ones group after that, also in closeness, without any scope changing. Because the idea is you want to have, if you want more than one pellet, or can have more than one pellet to run in your gun, extreme accuracy, you don't want to be messing with scopes, okay, as far as your changes go. You don't want to be able to have to do that. You want to just load and go those particular ammos that work. Anyway, thanks so much again. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please do so and stay tuned for more. Definitely stay tuned for more on this gun and the other guns I've been picking up recently as well. Going to have a lot more shooting videos too, different things. But that concludes us here for the Diana Trailscout in the Canadian non-PAL version, or under 500 FPS version. And we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.